Hello children, today we'll be covering about asexual reproduction. So let's start with the topic. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to it and get in touch with my previous videos also. So let's start with the chapter. So first of all, we must understand what is reproduction. Reproduction is the process by which organisms produce more of their own kind. Think about it, without reproduction, all life on earth would no longer exist. Reproduction is basically the continuity of life. There are two types of reproduction. One is sexual reproduction, other one is asexual reproduction. So in this video we'll be covering about asexual reproduction first of all. In the next video we'll be covering about sexual reproduction. So let's start with asexual reproduction. Only one parent is involved in asexual reproduction. Offsprings are genetically identical to their parents. Because only one parent is involved, all cells that come from a single cell are genetically identical to it and to each other. So you can call them clones also because they resemble their parent. It is used by many unicellular organisms, plants and lower animals. It involves only mitotic cell division. You must have learned about meiosis and mitosis. So this kind of reproduction involves mitosis. Each offspring has exactly the same heredity as their parent and usually rapid as compared to the sexual reproduction. So next we'll be studying about types of asexual reproduction. So consider this diagram. First of all, we are having a diploid cell. Then you can see the setup of chromosomes. Then afterwards, there are two cells, the formation of two diploid cells. It means one diploid cell is producing two diploid cells with equal number of equal set of chromosomes. Okay, so this is called as mitosis. So mitosis is the exact duplication of the nucleus of a cell so as to form two identical nuclei during the cell division. This process is called as cell division, means the division of a cell into two. So let's study the types of asexual reproduction. So first of all, look at this diagram. This is the cell, single cell amoeba. You can see the parent cell. Then afterwards, the nucleus is dividing in the cell only. Afterwards, the cytoplasm is dividing. And then afterwards, the production of two daughter cells. These are called as two daughter cells. Children, sometimes the question arises in exam, why they are called as daughter cells and why the main cell is called as, parent cell is called as mother cell instead of father cell, or why they are called as daughter cells instead of son cells. The reason behind this is, since we all know that the offsprings are produced by mother, not father. Yes, indirectly they are involved, but the production process is done by the mother. So it is called as the mother cell and the rest two are called as daughter cells, because daughter afterwards they'll be one day they'll behave as mother cell and they'll produce other cells also. Okay, so let's study about binary fission first of all, the very first kind of asexual reproduction. So it is the simplest form of asexual reproduction, simplest of all the types. In this parent organism, it divides into two approximately equal parts. You can see in the picture. Each daughter cell becomes a new individual afterwards. So this kind of reproduction is called as binary fission. Binary is also called as two, splitting into two. Okay, you can read cut it half also. So look at this diagram. DNA replication is happening, afterwards chromosome segregation, then cytokinesis. Cytokinesis is basically the division of cytoplasm. If you have gone through my previous video, I have explained about the structure of cell. There you will study in detail about cytoplasm. So it is basically the division of cytoplasm. The process is called as cytokinesis. So this is amoeba showing binary fission, the same diagram which was there in the previous slide. So this is the same diagram again. You can go through it in detail. The next kind of reproduction is called as budding. You can see the diagram again. In this, parent organism divides into two unequal parts. Remember, in the previous case, parent organism was dividing and the result was two equal parts, approximately equal parts. In this case, the parent organism is dividing but into two unequal parts. The new organism is created as a smaller outgrowth or bud on the outside of a parent. You can see in the diagram. And these buds, they break off afterwards and live independently or remain attached and form a colony. So this is the example of budding in hydra and budding in yeast. Look at the first diagram, budding in hydra. Cells on the outside of the parent hydra begin to undergo mitotic division, and this results in creating a small group of cells. Those cells continue to divide until a completely new hydra is formed. They can also reproduce sexually. Next is budding in yeast. So once the yeast cell reaches a certain size, it automatically undergoes mitosis. So look at these two diagrams, you'll understand it properly. The third type of asexual reproduction is spore formation. So spores, these are basically very small, microscopic, specialized cells that contain a nucleus in them and cytoplasm also, and they are surrounded by a thick outside wall which protects the spore. Under the right condition, the spores can give rise to new organism, and many organisms they form spores like bacteria, molds, yeast, mushroom. You must have seen a piece of bread. When you'll keep it in bathroom in moisture, after a few days you will observe the formation of a cottony structure on it. That is the growth of a fungus. So this is the life cycle of a fungus. Let's go through it. So we'll begin from there. So first of all, you will see this hyphal growth. It gives rise to spore formation. These hyphas, they grow and they'll give rise to spores. Then afterwards, when these spores, they'll fall off from the hypha due to wind or any other means of communication. Then these spores, when they'll fall on a suitable substratum, they will grow, they will germinate, and afterwards there will be again formation of hyphal growth, and this cycle goes on. The next kind of asexual reproduction is regeneration. So it is the ability to regrow lost or damaged body parts. Like you must have seen lizard. You must have seen lizards losing their tail. After few months, they regenerate the new tail. So this is basically regeneration. So the ability to regrow lost or damaged parts. So hydra, planaria, starfish and even earthworms also, they show regeneration. Like you will cut the earthworm into two. After some time, the two parts will become two earthworms. So more complex animals, the less able to regrow parts. Like we are complex. We are human beings and we are complex. This process is not there in our body. Crabs can regrow a claw. Some reptiles can regrow a tail. Most mammals can repair or damage tissue, but we cannot regrow missing parts. The next process is fragmentation. So fragmentation is a form of asexual reproduction where a new organism grows from a fragment of the parent. Each fragment develops into a mature, fully grown individual afterwards. It is seen in many organisms such as animals like annelid worms and sea stars. Fungi and plants also show fragmentation. Fungi can also reproduce asexually by fragmentation of their mycelium. You can go through the diagrams. You can see the growth of a full-fledged fungi. Children, you must be knowing it that flower is the reproductive part of plant. But what happens to those plants where we cannot see any flower, or the plants where flowers they do not occur? They grow by vegetative propagation. So let's study about it. The next type of asexual reproduction is vegetative propagation. Vegetative reproduction is a type of asexual reproduction found in plants where new individuals are formed without the production of seeds or spores. So the first type is bulb. Have you seen onions? It is basically a short underground stem surrounded by thick leaves. They contain stored food. As the plant grows, it produces new bulbs which will grow into new plants. The examples are tulips, onions and lilies. The next example is corm. It is similar to bulb but do not contain leaves, just underground stems. Example is water chestnut. The next example is tuber of potato. It is the enlarged part of an underground stem that contains stored food. Potatoes are tubers. Can you see these small depressions on potato? These are called as the eyes. The tiny buds that can form a new potato plant, they grow from here. So next one is runner or stolon. It is basically a horizontal stem above the ground with buds. If a bud touches the ground, it will form roots and stem and start a new plant. The best example is strawberry. The next one is rhizome, more often called as rhizome of ginger. So this is basically a horizontal stem that grows underground. It is thick and contains stored food in it. Upper portion form nodules which will form buds which will form new plants. The lower portion form roots. Ferns and water lilies are the example of this. Look at this diagram, children. The various forms of vegetative propagation are given here. Go through it in detail. So let's study about the next type, artificial vegetative propagation. So the first type is cutting. Use a portion of a developed plant to make a new plant. It seems funny, but yes, it's true. Roses, ivy and grapevines are reproduced in this way. You have to simply cut a branch and you have to sow it in soil. After few days you will see the formation of leaves, and after few months a new plant will be there. So this is called as the artificial vegetative propagation and the type is cutting. The next type is layering. What happens in this? A stem is bent so that it is covered with soil. Like you will bend a stem and you will cover it with soil. Once the branch forms roots, like you will keep the open end of the stem outside the soil into the air, only a little portion of the branch will be there inside the soil, and after the branch it will be formed, the roots will grow into that portion, and then you can cut the plant from the portion where you bend it and you can plant it to a new place. The examples are raspberries and roses. So there are two types of layering. One is air layering, the other one is mound layering. You can see the pictures. In air layering, you have to simply peel off the above outer covering of a branch. Okay, then you have to cover it with grafting clay and polythene covering. Then afterwards after few days the roots will grow into that portion. After few days you can open the bandage, you can cut the plant from there and you can sow it into the soil. The next process is grafting. So bud or stem of one plant is permanently attached to the stem or trunk of very similar plant. The cambium layers grow together and form a single plant. This is done in case of apples. So basically what happens is, this thing is done in the same species like mango, like apple. You cannot do in case of mango and apple. You have to choose two apple trees. So this is basically done like one is the wild variety of mango or apple, the other one is a different variety of apple. So you will cut the main plant, like you can call it stalk, and you will cut the other plant that is called a scion. You will put it into this manner, you will bandage it, and after few days they will combine and it will be having the trait of both plants. So let's study about its advantages. It takes less time to artificially propagate. You can create seedless fruits also with the help of this kind of reproduction. Grafting can be used to generate higher levels of fruit and nut production. So this was all for today. See you in the next video, children. Hope you like it. Do subscribe my channel for more. Do not forget to check my playlist for the previous videos I have posted. See you in the next one. Stay connected. Bye all.